there's a lot of really interesting character work they can do here. And the fact that they're doing it in this kind of bonkers, super sci-fi world where they're sort of traveling as nomads through the quantum realm is just so unexpected to me. Like, I'm really excited for it.
Okay, let's start with a newly released trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Your thoughts, Rosie?
Wow. I was not expecting it to be like this. I was expecting a trailer. It's been a long time. But it is so different from anything they've done with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I will say the beginning of the trailer is in my lovely town of San Pedro where I live. That's what we saw them filming.
That's right.
They were there. Scott is looking happy. He's loving life as an Avenger. People are saying hi to him. Like, they think he's Spider-Man, but still. And then it's just like, that is very MCU-ish as we know it, but it just throws us into the quantum realm after Cassie creates a quantum satellite, which, to be honest, very silly idea. But, you know, Scott's daughter, Cassie, does that. They go in, and then it's just like this unreal Star Wars Spy Kid, super hard sci-fi.
Very Spy Kids.
It kind of blew my mind. I did not expect them to go in this direction or for so much of the movie to actually be set in this really expanded version of the quantum realm. I
was left wondering, it feels as if, obviously Kang, Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror, is in this. He looks
looking great.
I came away from the trailer feeling like, okay, he's here, but he might not be the big bad. I wonder what it is that Scott, Cassie, and Janet are going to be fighting against. Because it does not seem like it's going to be Kang. It seems actually that their kind of interests are aligned, and whatever it is that Scott helps Kang with is going to be the thing that gets the ball rolling towards, the next, the ultimate like showdown in the eventual Avengers movie when it does happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. From the beginning, what I've really wanted, because we knew from Loki that Jonathan would basically be playing multiple different versions of Kang, which makes sense. That's the nature of his character, is that there are many different versions of Kang living through all different times and realities. I have always wanted it to be that he would meet a version of Kang who was an ally. I thought maybe it would be more like a version who is just in the normal world, who's a scientist, who's a very early version. But I like this idea that there's this established version of Kang who is going to try and ally himself with Ant-Man. We see him call him Ant-Man. He recognizes who he is, what his powers are. He doesn't mistake him for a different Avenger. The big question, like you say, who is the threat? We know that basically the version of the quantum realm that we have in the MCU is a mixture of the quantum realm and then this thing called the microverse, which came from these weird old 70s toy comics, the Micronauts, so they can't say that. But I wonder whether what we see here is some version of Chronopolis, which is this kind of space where Kang lives in some of the comics, where he can open portals to all different dimensions that he's conquering at once. I wonder if there's something where one of those portals, and it's always going to go back there. I'm not going to say X-Men, so be surprised. But I'm going to say Fantastic Four.
We're going to say it eventually.
We're going to say it eventually. But it's Kang, so I'm going to say some kind of negative zone threat, some kind of Doctor Doom threat, some kind of more direct Fantastic Four threat. I also think there has been rumors going around, and this is very rumors, so no confirmation here, that one of the next Marvel special presentations will be about Silver Surfer. So I also wonder if we could see like a and if they do that, I would assume it would be about him before he became the Herald of Galactus. So, but if that's the case, then in that case, this would be about Norrin Radd. I wonder if they're going to introduce the Silver Surfer. That means maybe the bigger threat is someone like Galactus. I would love to see something like that, and I like the idea of Kang being an ally first and a villain later, because Jonathan Majors brings so much complexity to that performance. In Loki, he was just so brilliant. That's my favorite episode of Loki, is the finale episode with him. And I'm very excited to see where they go with this, especially because something I find very interesting about this setup is the idea that Janet Van Dyne, You know, Michelle Pfeiffer icon, original like one of the founders, leaders of the Avengers. I love the idea that she knew that Kang was there, and she knew that this wider version of the quantum
That's
realm
why
existed.
she was so concerned
and
about
she didn't tell them. That to
Yeah.
me, that is very interesting. What does she know? Why did she think it was safer for them to not be there? There's a lot of really interesting character work they can do here, and the fact that they're doing it in this kind of bonkers, super sci-fi world where they're sort of traveling as nomads through the quantum realm is just so unexpected to me. Like I'm really excited for it.
The Kang suit looks amazing.
Yep.
I had a crackpot thought.
I love this. You better say it.
Listen, this is not going to be right, but I had a crackpot thought just because of the way his face looks and the way the mask looks. I do wonder, you mentioned the multiple versions of Kang and which one is Scott going to be interacting with, which one is going to be in this movie. I wonder if the suit is like some kind of quantum entanglement suit where different versions of Kang can inhabit the suit at different times depending on need. I wonder if that's not a way they could do it, where he could be different versions of Kang
I think it's a great idea.
in this one suit.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Also, it makes a lot of sense that if he had the technology to create something like that with Chronopolis, then he would have the technology to create a version of that in the suit, where the suit is essentially a portal in itself. Also, I will say, like, the obvious big bad for a movie like this, where we have the ally Kang, would be like an Immortus.
Yeah.
Kang, you know, Kang is the villain, but Kang is an ally because there are many versions of Kang. So that would also be very interesting to see how they will play that. But I also didn't realize this was coming out in February, maybe because time is moving so fast. So we don't even have to wait that long. Like,
we don't have to wait that long. Up next, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special trailer. My immediate reaction is great. More Cosmo the dog.
Yeah, Cosmo, that's the one, baby. That's the most thing I like the most from Guardians of the Galaxy was the Collector's Collection. You know, seeing Cosmo, seeing Howard the Duck, obviously, who I hope is going to make his way into the main MCU once again. Now he's married to Darcy. Yeah, you know what? This is exactly what a Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special should be. Mantis and Drax, they're going to cheer up Star-Lord, who honestly is a whiny baby, so I don't know why they're bothered. But anyway, they're going to do it because they're good friends and they love him. And how are they going to do it? They're going to kidnap Kevin Bacon. Yes.
My sense is like a one shot in comics.
Exactly.
Like the Star Wars holiday special before it.
Exactly. That's
this is going to be a very fun thing that will not impact the canon in any kind of way.
Especially now, the next news that we're going to talk about, we can assume that this is going to be very out of canon.
Oh, yeah.
And I love this idea that it's kind of like, it's like Marvel's What If Drax was Santa Claus or something like that, you know? It's like he would be kidnapping people and causing Nightmare Before Christmas level troubles.
So up next, DC Films has announced that they have found their Kevin Feige, and it is in fact two people. It is writer-director James Gunn of the various Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but also Peacemaker and also Suicide Squad over at Warner Brothers DC, and producer Peter Safran. They will lead the film, TV, and animation division as co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios, with Gunn focusing on the creative side and Safran more of the business and production side. So you would imagine that's wise, with considering that putting a director, not just a director, but like an active working director who is like
currently doing work on a Marvel movie,
in control of an entire studio. We've never really seen this before. This is crazy. You know, I've seen numerous like posts online that are something like Kevin Feige has created his own supervillain with James Gunn. Obviously a lot of work to do. A lot remains to be seen. It'll be fascinating to see what their slate of films is. I would imagine it's going to be like 2 years before James's like influence is even felt on the screens, I would imagine. Your thoughts? So
I think that it's probably going to seem sooner because DC wants to feel like there's a shape. So we'll probably get some classic DC / Marvel style announcement where you get the slate of movies and you're just like, half of these definitely aren't going to come out. But I think you're right. 2 years seems realistic. It's a 4-year deal from what I understand. So I'm like, 2 years feels like they're really it's hopefully going to go well so they can extend the deal and kind of do more with it. I really like this choice. Peter Safran and James Gunn have worked together for a long time. It fits in with Zaslav's style of the kind of people that he wants to put in charge of things, aka, white men.
Two white guys.
Like,
two for the price of one.
Two for the price of one. But like the truth is that Safran's worked with Gunn for a long time. He was like his manager. Yeah. And he actually produced the DC movies that I like the most. Like everyone knows I love Aquaman. I can't wait for the next Aquaman movie. I loved Shazam. I think it's an absolute underrated gem. It's just like pure superhero magic. He did Suicide Squad, which I adored. Peacemaker, which was a huge smash. Also worked on The Conjuring, which is the biggest horror franchise of all time. So he has the producing chops and he has them at Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Gunn, like the Suicide Squad really showed me in a way that I hadn't really seen before. And I'm such a huge fan of that movie. I think it's really radical and just great. But like, I knew that he loves comics. He loves comics. And that's something like that Feige has that a lot of these other execs have not had, right? He loves comics. And not just that, he knows how to look into a catalog that spans 80 years and find unexpected characters to explore and unexpected stories to tell. That is what the MCU was built on. I know it doesn't feel like it. I know Captain America and Iron Man feel like they were the biggest superheroes in the world. They were not at the time. And Gunn goes even deeper than that. So he made a movie with Suicide Squad that's like one of the best superhero movies ever made. And it has Polka Dot Man in it. It has a legacy version of Ratcatcher. And the Ratcatcher storyline is unbelievable. It has so many unexpected characters. It has Starro. It has these cosmic, strange characters brought into this really grounded world. I'm excited to see what this looks like in the long term. And if this is their 10-year plan, they got someone who's going to do something that's very different than Marvel, and that's what they need.
And I think having Safran there, to your point,
is
wise. On the creative side, there's a lot of work to do in kind of producing a cohesive shape and tone out of a lot of disparate kind of projects. And that is going to be a lot. And so you would imagine having Safran there to kind of be the guardrails. It just seems wise. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
The other thing that I think is actually really key, which is something I've kind of been talking about, is like, what else James Gunn has? He has like an unreal Rolodex of talent who loves to work with him. Like, if you look at the people he works with and how they love to continue to work with him on different kinds of projects, he is bringing with him an immense amount of star power who would likely be very happy to do more things with him in whatever guise, wherever he ends up. And we're talking about a studio whose main focus is on, making a Superman movie. I have my version of what that should be at DC, which is basically they should just do a Channing Tatum as Superman movie and make it as bright and sparkling as Rob's Batman movie was dark, and then you have the two of them meet. But I am not in charge. I'm not James Gunn. Spoiler alert, guys. But I'm very interested to see. They have the man who made a Superman. What if Superman was a horror killer? With Brightburn. That's the man who's now in charge of DC Studios along with Peter Safran. I find that very interesting.